Here we are with another video where I want to show you how to use a tarp to set up a shelter. Now, in one of my first videos I showed you how to set up a very simple shelter with like a 5x7 emergency space blanket or a tarp. Now that would be something that, if you really were out and you had no plans of getting stuck out overnight, but you wanted to carry something with you to be sure, that might be something that you do. But I'll tell you, you're probably, especially in the wintertime, you're not going to be very comfortable doing that, especially if you can see there's snow on the ground. So what I want to do was show you, if you carry maybe a little bit bigger of a tarp. Now this is a 10x10, an 8x8 would work too. I like the square ones because it's nice because all the grommets kind of line up and have the same amount on each side. And it doesn't really matter which way I have to put this up. But what I'm going to show you is we're going to do basically just an emergency shelter with a tarp, but we're also going to have a floor on it. Since there's snow on the ground, we don't have to lay on that snow. We're going to have a floor in our shelter. So first thing I'm going to do is put up my ridge line here. Now since it is winter time, I'm going to keep this ridge line pretty low to the ground because I want to keep all my heat trapped in there, especially if I'm going to have a fire with this one. It's going to be an open front shelter, so if we had a fire we'd be able to get the heat in from that. But so basically I'm going to keep this down kind of low. I'm going to keep my prusik loops back. We don't want to get those caught in any of the knots we're going to tie here. If you need help tying your ridge line or putting it up, I have a little short video out there just talking about the ridge line, how to make it, and then how to put it up. So I'm going to use my loop here for one side of my tarp, so I'm just going to leave that at a 1/2 hitch for right now. So like I said, this is a square tarp, so it doesn't really matter which way I unfold it, which end I try to use, because they're all the same length. Now it kind of is hard to do this, to keep it up off the snow when there is snow on the ground. I'm going to do the best that I can, but you're probably going to get some snow on the inside that you're going to be laying on. So we're just going to come through here. We have our first side with the toggle hook down. We're just going to put our 1/2 hitches in there just to hold that. We're going to take one of our prusik loops here. And now you see this, the distance between my trees here wasn't really far enough for me to do this, but that's okay because I've had a lot of grommets in this. So for this, basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move in one grommet here. We'll still have plenty of room. This is a 10x10, so you're still going to have a lot of extra room in this. It's probably even would work for 2 people even in this. Okay, so here we go. We have it hooked up in the front. If we found that it was flapping in the wind or anything, we can always go ahead and just hook on another grommet with another prusik loop there. So then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tuck the back side underneath of it. I am trying to minimize how much snow I get on that underneath part because that's really where I'm going to be laying. So I'm trying not to get too much snow on that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come out back here. I'm going to take my tent stake and I'm going to take the middle grommet on this one. Just going to feed my tent stake through it. I'm going to put my toggle through it. And I'm going to have my toggle on the inside here. And hopefully we can get down in the ground here because it is frozen. If not, if you had some root sticking up that you could tie onto, or maybe run another line back to another tree that's back there. Might even need to grab a stick here and give us a few taps. I'll be right back. Okay, now it hasn't been below freezing for too long here in PA, so I don't think the ground is completely frozen. Just that top layer might need to just pound through a little bit to get through there. So I would keep going, pound this in tight. I'm going to be taking this down, so I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to do the other side. Same thing. Just going to take the middle grommet. Just going to put a toggle through it. I'm going to pull this kind of tight. You can see there, that one went in pretty easily. So here we are, back out the front of our shelter. Now, one thing that you have to be careful about is making sure that this part, especially if it's raining or snowing or anything like that, making sure the front part of this isn't sticking out past your ridge line, because you don't want to have the rain land right on that. Now, what you can do, especially with this bigger tarp, is instead of using the middle grommet, I could have used one further up. Would have gave me a smaller space inside of here, but it would have put me further back inside. So now here's what I have. I have a barrier between myself and the snow, and then whatever I have with me, my sleeping bag or my wool blanket or whatever I could put in here. I'll go grab that. Okay, now what I have here is my sleeping pad. I'll throw my blanket in there for right now to keep it up off the snow. But I have this sleeping pad wrapped up inside of it. I have some of that Mylar bubble wrap. Basically, you can buy it at any hardware store. I think Lowe's and Home Depot carry it. It's just used for wrapping HVAC ductwork. But it's basically bubble wrap with some shiny reflective material on both sides of it that are going to help reflect your heat back up in and save you. And it's very small. When I pull it out, you'll see you can roll it up, and it doesn't take up very much space in your pack, and it definitely doesn't weigh very much. And then wrapped up on the outside of that, I have an old exercise mat that I found. Now, this is one of the thicker ones, and it's very foamy, and it also comes with some Velcro straps built in, which are nice for wrapping this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bubble wrap, and I'm going to lay that down first. I'm going to lay my pad on top of that, and I'm going to lay my wool blankets on top of that. And all the while, you can see, I have this floor in here, so I'm able to keep my stuff up off the ground and keep it dry, and yet I didn't need to bring along 2 tarps with me. And you can see here on this corner, since I came in 1 notch, I could stake this down to the ground, and I would have a side, especially if the wind was coming from this way. I could use that to block the wind. And I could do it on the other side here too. I could come into the next grommet over when I'm doing this. It is going to limit the size of my shelter lengthways though. You may need to lay at an angle under there, but you would have some wind block on the side there. So, put out the Mylar bubble wrap. Put our sleeping pad on top. And we're going to just make sure we're back in there far enough. So, here we go. If we had a fire out front, we're going to keep it about 1 step away. But the heat will come right in here. We have a nice roof over our heads, and we have a floor underneath of us. And with the Mylar bubble wrap, the pad, and a wool blanket, you'll be nice and warm and toasty even without a fire. Just make sure that you don't build this with the wind blowing directly into your face. You want to kind of build it parallel to the fire, or sorry, I'm going to build it parallel to the wind, the way the breeze is blowing, so it stays out. And like I said, we can always come, stake this right down to the ground, and there we have a side on here too, and we can do it with the other side. Like I said, it's just going to narrow this down quite a bit. So there you go. Didn't need to carry a big heavy tent with us. We just brought a 10 by 10 tarp and our ridge line. You know, anything else that you're going to have, you know, your wool blanket, your pad, your mylar, your sleeping bag, whatever, you're going to need to carry that whether you have a tent or not. So I think this is a lightweight option to carrying a tent with you, especially if you can have a fire there. So, okay, hang around, we'll have some more videos for you.